I have noticed something going on in the culture right now that I'm at the same time a little vexed by that it's taken this long, but also I'm very happy about it as well. And so all of a sudden, everyone is talking about teaching kids discomfort. Now, you've heard me talk about this in this very space and in other podcasts in past years. And part of me wants to say, hey, friggin' welcome to the party, man. But really, I'm just glad more and more of you are showing up at all. Like it or not, we live in a time-bound world. And there's no thing in this universe more precious to humans than time, than their time. So lift up your nose, out of your phone, be engaged with the world around you, and have enough self-awareness to understand how your presence in it affects others. But then robot voice, as they are wont to do now, as the technology advances, starts suggesting things and asking questions which I don't need. And robot voice asked, the nutrition profile is such and such and such and such. Are you making a meal? Would you like me to suggest some recipes, including X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, recipes? Oh, I got your I got your recipe right here. This brings me back to the whole thing about expectations and how we have created a culture in which everything has to be an experience. Question, will GLP-1 weight loss medications make me lose muscle? Hey, let kids experience discomfort, put your shopping cart away properly, and stop listening to fitness performers. All that plus rapid fire Q&A. Stick around. BalanceFIT Radio is on.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Lift off and the clock has started.
Hey now, namaste, word 'em up, and good day to you, BalanceFIT family, wherever you may be around the globe, and welcome to BalanceFIT Radio. We're talking about strength, meaning, and the human experience right here. I'm your host, Scott Schroeder, and I'm a certified personal trainer, nutrition coach, and performance enhancement specialist. Yeah. Based here in Easley, South Carolina. BalanceFIT Radio is where fitness meets psychology and philosophy in everyday life. Because true wellness is about more than just the body, is it not? Yes, it is. It is about living in balance through strength, resilience, and capability. Let's get after it, shall we? Joining me in the studio today, nobody. No second camera, no second microphone. I've missed you for a couple of weeks. It's been a little nutty. Lacey's been out doing stuff, traveling and doing Lacey things. And in true Lacey fashion, got poison ivy. Lord, that girl. Anyway, I, of course, 2 weekends ago was Asheville Spartan Race weekend, which went very well. I raced Saturday in age group and finished second, which was pretty rad. It is hard to podium in competitive Spartan heats. It's hard, so I felt pretty good about that. And Sunday raced with the BalanceFIT team, and we had an awesome time. Everybody did well. We finished in a pretty good time. I wanted to push everybody a little bit past their comfort zone. I'm not one of those people who's going to approach an event, a quasi-competitive event, and give the least effort possible. But I also wanted them to have fun because I believe for each of them, it was their first. And I know that Ryan, one of my guys, has already signed up for Newberry, and I know Elizabeth wants to as well. So hopefully we'll have another team for that. But anyway, in addition, all of my time, basically all of my non-training time has been devoted to the new addition to our family, which, and Lacey will be back in the studio tomorrow. We're recording another episode tomorrow, which will hopefully be released Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever. And you'll see the new baby then, not a human baby. I'm much, much, much too old, not physiologically, but patience and emotion wise. I'm a grandparent. I do not want to be a parent again to a human child, but Finley got a little sister. In this case, literally a little sister, same parentage. So We got a little baby, currently 9-week-old border collie, chocolate tri border collie in the house, and you know how much effort that takes. So haven't been sitting down at this microphone during that time, but I'm so happy to be back. So today, like I said, it is Hey, you know what they tell you in the podcast universe is make things evergreen, don't timestamp stuff. And the one thing that I really don't care about is any of your stupid rules and algorithms and all that nonsense. Because the things that I talk about here, this is a variety show, man. If you're new here, or if you haven't noticed through past episodes, this is a variety show. I talk about everything in culture that has a leaning towards overall fitness and wellness, nutrition, and all that kind of stuff. So we stay in the lane of human wellness, all facets of it, but I like to talk about all kinds of stuff. I'm what do they call it? A generalist within the fitness community. This is a variety show. If you're too young to know what a variety show is, like you never saw Donnie and Marie or whatever, look it up. It was awesome. It was a great, great period in our culture. Anyway, I keep referring to today and tomorrow and next week and all that stuff. It is Saturday, August 15th, and it's 12:43 p.m. Look at that. I just said the date and time I'm recording, and nobody exploded. So hopefully that doesn't ruin your listening experience. If you're hearing this in the future, if it's December 18th, 2031, and this is going to ruin your experience by hearing the date and time, then I'm really, really very sorry for that particular brand of spoilage for you. So what do we have going on here? Oh, right. Hey, I'm investing all my savings into a business that offers a boxing gym, a dentist, and a manicurist all under one roof. Now, my accountant says I'm crazy, but I told him I'm going to fight tooth and nail for it. Thank you. There's no one here to roll their eyes or groan at my dad joke, but that's what we do here. It's tradition. And before we get into it, if you are listening or watching and you aren't subscribed or following, please take a moment and click the button. I'm not engagement farming here, but I do have a message that I think is important that I want to get out there. Maybe if you know someone, if it's important to you, and maybe you know someone who you think would benefit from watching this or listening to this, then the best way that you can help is to listen to what the algorithms tell us to do, unfortunately, which is to, I guess YouTube now wants you to click the thumb. So do that. Please subscribe to the channel. And if you're on podcast, which I'm a big podcast listener, that's my main form of information and entertainment, then subscribe to the show, and you can share the episodes pretty easily on your favorite platform. So I just wanted to say that. Do ratings and reviews and all that kind of stuff if you're feeling it. It doesn't take any time to click the 5-star review on the podcast platform. I understand it takes time to write ratings, but if you're so inclined, then I would be blessed by your kind words. If you don't have any kind words, then, well, you know. Yeah, so all that stuff's a bigger help than you can imagine to get the message out. We wouldn't be here without your support, and I'm very grateful for it. So let's get into it. Today's episode is going to be, I'm going to hit some of the usual segments, but I'm going to do it pretty briefly because, like I said, we're recording tomorrow, and we're going to have another episode out middle of next week, sometime like that. I think you guys like what I've seen from my numbers is that you tend to like the Friday episode. So I don't know if you're consuming my show over the weekends, which is awesome. Actually, what I'd prefer is, you know, we have a light show here. It's informative. Hopefully it's funny. Most of the time I'm unintentionally funny, which makes it funnier, especially when I have my foil over there laughing at ridiculous things that I say that I don't know are ridiculous. But I think you guys like listening to this over the weekends while you're out doing your thing, and that's cool. So I'm going to see about staying consistent to that, but it's hard for me to do this. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of time to do this, and I'm doing it by myself. So be patient with me. If you don't hear from me one week, it means I'm meaningfully engaged in something. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So anyway, in the warm-up section today, I have noticed something going on in the culture right now that I'm at the same time a little vexed by that it's taken this long, but also I'm very happy about it as well. And so all of a sudden, everyone is talking about teaching kids discomfort. And you've heard me talk about this in this very space and in other podcasts in past years. And part of me wants to say, hey, friggin' welcome to the party, man. But really, I'm just glad more and more of you are showing up at all, because we have systematically backed our way into a really terrible situation, and it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed with alacrity. And pushing kids out of their little comfort bubble we've forced them into will come with friction, without a doubt. But if you don't bite the bullet and deal with the belly aching now, while they're developing kids, you'll send utterly timid, non-functional, weak, vulnerable, incompetent, feckless, and totally dependent nascent adults into a very difficult world. I think I first really noticed this, like it kind of peeled my eyes back. It is something that you sort of felt out there, had been building and going on for quite some time, but you couldn't really quite put your finger on it. But the 2 years I spent working at Motive School of Movement in Greenville, which is, as you guys, if you've listened to me previously or if you're in the area, you know, is a really awesome facility, a gym that's based around Ninja Warrior and parkour stuff, and that has other things as well, tricking and other fitness things, OCR, all that kind of stuff. And they teach a lot of kids, and they teach all the way down to age 5. They have mommy and me classes that might go younger than that, where the moms participate, but I'm not sure. But the ninja classes and the parkour classes start, or at least the ninja classes start at age 5, which is awesome. And I never worked with, well, that's not true. I worked with kids that young with field trips, but I never taught any classes for kids that young. But in my field trips, probably the most common average age I dealt with was, I'd say like 7 to 10. And in the world I grew up in, just the zeitgeist of the world in which I grew up, I'm not talking about back in my day. I'm just talking about my experience, which is your experiences early on formulate your foundation for sort of the lens through which you see life as an adult. Hopefully you will keep your eyes and ears open and adapt and evolve as you go, if you're a functioning human. But you're going to have foundations that are developed early. And one of those foundations for me was that you were just active. I mean, it wasn't even a concept. Activity wasn't a concept. We didn't talk about activity. We just went out and did stuff. Today's Saturday. It's Saturday afternoon. It's in the summer. Well, school has started back in a lot of places. But anyway, a summertime Saturday, we'd be out of the house pretty early after breakfast and cartoons, and we'd be gone all day. And we weren't engaging in focused activity. We were just running, jumping, flipping, flying, climbing trees, swinging on vines, jumping over creeks, wading through creeks, climbing on things, all that stuff. That's just how we entertained ourselves and how we got around. And so you learned, you adapted your body and your neuromuscular system at a very early age to get past discomfort, because physically grabbing, like you all know about the Gen X, all the Gen X content out there that where we all joke about what our torture chambers, our playgrounds were like growing up with the metal slides out in the sun and all that kind of stuff. Well, the same thing like with the monkey bars. It's 92 degrees outside and you got metal like steel, iron or steel, whatever they are, monkey bars baking in the sun for hours and hours and hours. And you grab onto it with your hands and climb up and down, and you got shorts on and maybe no shirt on and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that kind of discomfort is what I'm talking about, that you sort of train your central nervous system and your body to deal with until it's just not, it's something, it's just background noise. You don't even think about it. But we've taken that away from kids systematically over the last few decades. And I say systematically because whoever we is, that nebulous, nefarious force that does a lot of really nonsensical, borderline psychopathic things within the school systems, or really within any structure where kids are learning and evolving. We've really pushed them to the point of self-destruction because they're very weak and very soft in every way, not just physically, but emotionally, cognitively, every way, because we force them inside, we force them to sit down, we force their eyes from up in the world to down onto a screen, to the point now where it's like, hey, why don't you go outside? And you're like, outside. But anyway, I first saw this at Motive when I was putting kids through, and these kids, like I said, they're all about 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, somewhere in that range, putting them through a ninja course scaled to their size and their ability, where they had to grab and hold and swing on stuff like rings, like gymnastics rings and bars and things like that. And I remember one of the kids grabbed a ring and it's like, ow, looked at his hand. I'm like, ow? What do you mean, ow? I didn't get it. It didn't register to me. So I had to learn this on the fly. And so I was like, what are we doing here? No, here's how you do it and all that. And I still wasn't understanding what exactly was happening here until later on in the day. I was telling one of our other coaches who directs all the kids' programs that that's a thing, that these kids don't experience discomfort early or even at all until they come take classes there. And that one of the things that you have to do is back up. You have to go left of bang, as we talked about. So you have to start before 0. 0 is learning how to deal with these obstacles conceptually and physically. We have to go left of that and teach them that doing this is not a danger signal, that the little bit of discomfort that they experience by grabbing a ring or a bar is not a danger signal. It's just part of physically engaging in the world. And boy, that really opened my eyes up. And I've been hyper aware of teaching and coaching kids that I work with, understanding where they might be coming from physically and emotionally, and really working through getting them into accepting the fact that discomfort is not a danger signal. Other things that we're seeing with this culture is, I want to say, everybody knows what helicopter parenting and snowplow parenting and all that kind of stuff is, but I see two different kinds of parents, unfortunately. Now, not everybody. Don't want to paint with too broad a brush, but I'm talking about the alarming things that I see, not the great things that I see. Dads who are disengaged, and these dads are in their 30s, mid-30s to maybe around 40. And these fathers, and I say this with a note of disdain in my voice, these fathers are disengaged, staring at their phones, playing video games. They're fat, they're fat, they're sick, and they're not participating. They're not setting a good example for their kids. And the moms are way overcompensating by overmommying the hell out of these kids. And overmommying and disengagement from the other side makes helpless humans. You have got to step back. And this is, listen, man, I'm a parent too. I'm a grandparent. I get it. The most difficult thing to do for a parent is to learn how to watch your child fail and fall and get hurt and cry. It's awful. But if we don't let them learn how to do it, if we don't let them experience that and learn how to work through this difficulty, well, look around. Because we've created soft, helpless people. And I talk about how Gen Z is going to save the world, and I'm going to touch on that here in a second when I get to the Gen Z segment. But we need to reverse this. And we need to do the most difficult thing a parent can do. And that's step back and let them experience. That doesn't mean you disengage from your child. That doesn't mean you're not watching. That means you're not the shadow. That means you allow them to bump into the walls. You need to be up until a certain age, you need to put those guardrails up. But you need to widen the lane that the guardrails surround. And there's the philosophy that the good mother necessarily fails. And what does that mean? It can be tough to get your mind around. A healthy parent must gradually stop protecting a child from all hardship, shifting from total care to letting the child face reality, which feels like a failure but builds true independence. Now that means you're going to have to recognize the phases, because when your child is an infant, the child is always right. When the child cries, you respond. There's no room for philosophical conceptual nonsense here. Your 100% of your devoted attention and care is given to that child at that stage of life. As they move to the next stage of life, as a toddler, you need to let them explore a little bit. They're going to explore whether you let them or not. But you still have to protect them because they have no concept of what hurts and what doesn't until they do. But in the next phase of life, maybe past that toddler phase, when they're 5, 6 years old, we need to start letting them do stuff on their own. We need to start giving them agency at that point. Stop cutting the goddamn crusts off their sandwiches. In fact, stop making their sandwiches altogether. Maybe once a week, one day a week, you have them make their own lunch or their own breakfast, and you can walk them through it, but you need to step back and let them make messes and let them make bad food. Figure it out. Let them burn the toast. That's hard to do too. Conscientious adults need to get stuff done, and it's hard to step back and watch somebody who's learning just fail and fumble and flail. But it's important. It is important that you do that. So let them start giving them agency as early as you can. They can do stuff. They're capable. You've got to step. My God, I need to be careful here because there's a personal experience involved, and it is not my position, is not within my purview to reveal stuff. Anyway, suffice it to say, if you got a child who's between 6 and, I don't know, let's say 12, let's just pick those numbers, and they're thirsty, let them get their own water bottle. Don't run over to the corner and grab their water bottle. If they're sweaty, don't grab a towel and dab their face. Let them do it. Oh my God, what kind of human are you creating? You are creating the most entitled, unself-aware human that you can possibly imagine. Maybe that's what you want. But if you love your child, you will not let that happen. You will suffer the pain of letting your child go and letting your child experience pain on their own. because the truest love a parent can give can be the most hurtful to themselves. Letting go of the helpless infant to allow the child to thrive on their own. Stop overreacting. Stop reacting at all to every little micro expression and emotion and boo-boo or friction. Just stop reacting to it because they're looking at you. You ever notice that? If they fall down, first thing they do is look over at you. They don't start crying or whatever. They look at you first to see what your reaction is. Do you gasp or do you run over to them or whatever? Then that's going to kick off the avalanche of emotions that will get them the attention that they think that they want. But you got to stop. Stop reacting. Stop doing things for them that they can do for themselves, like getting their water bottle and wiping their little face. And the same concept goes for seniors as well. When you talk about someone who's dealing with senior care or assisted living or even palliative care, don't do things for them that they can do for themselves. For the child, we're talking about building agency. For the senior, we're talking about maintaining some agency. Don't take their lives away from them. I know it can be difficult watching your elderly parent or a person that you're caring for struggle to tie their shoes or whatever, but you got to let them do it. They are watching. These kids, they're watching. They're watching your reaction to everything. They're devious, little self-serving little nuggets by nature. And they will use your own emotions against you to manipulate situations and outcomes to their own comfort. And seniors will do that too if you re-infantilize them by doing everything for them. But we're talking about kids here. So comfort, discomfort. Speaking of comfort, I've said this many times, but it's never meant more. Comfort that arrests growth is not benevolent, and truth that invites effort is not cruelty. Letting children fall, feel sad, or solve their own problems is not cruel or negligent. It is absolutely a necessary and fundamental part of growing up, and it's foundational to their ability to navigate the world as it is, which is difficult and ugly and brutal much of the time. But it's also beautiful and full of incredible things to be discovered. Let that discovery happen, and let it happen without your looming shadow. Ugliness and beauty aren't opposing forces. They are complementary, like yin and yang. One cannot exist without the other, and kids need to figure out how to experience both, or they will be overwhelmed by existence. All right, that's enough for that. On the Zeitgeist, the Gen Z segment today, I want to talk about this. This is an oldie but a goodie that I came across when I was skimming through my writings recently, and this is tangential to something that I wrote about, was it like 13 years ago or so? It's about time. And you need to respect time. So Gen Z, listen to me here. Now, I keep giving you the credit that you're smarter than everybody thinks you are and that you're going to save the world. That doesn't mean all of you are the savior or all of you are brilliant. There's a lot of dummies in your cohort out there. There's a lot of people who have already given up because of the parents that we talked about earlier. But those of you who are conscientious and thoughtful, and not self-involved, and not unaware, y'all are the ones. So you need to shoulder this difficulty, this burden. And it is going to be a difficult burden, but there's things that you need to learn along the way that you probably weren't taught. One of those is about respecting time. More importantly, respecting other people's time. Nearly every human being on earth has an electronic calendar in their pocket, on their tablet, on their laptop, and on their desktop. How in this world, how in God's merciful name are allegedly adult human beings missing appointments and forgetting to do things or forgetting when things are happening? Good Lord, man. Kids, teenagers, young adults, you want to elevate yourself above the pool of human dummies ambling around? Use your calendar, confirm appointments, return important messages, and show up on time. It's just that simple, and it takes minimal effort. Do these things and you will own the universe. Set an example for your parents who never learned personal responsibility or respect for other people's time. This isn't an out-of-date concept, by the way. This isn't something only old people talk about. Like it or not, we live in a time-bound world, and there's no thing in this universe more precious to humans than time, than their time. So, lift up your nose, out of your phone, be engaged with the world around you, and have enough self-awareness to understand how your presence in it affects others. Be on time as much as humanly possible in your life. Now, that doesn't mean skidding in on two wheels at 10:01 for a 10 a.m. appointment. Unacceptable. That means you are in place and prepared at 10, which means you show up early. How do you do this? Put your event on a timeline and work backwards. It's come to my attention recently that there's not a lot of people anymore left that understand what the hell I'm talking about when I say put your event, put your day, put your life on a timeline. That doesn't mean, we talked about optimization. We're not regimenting your entire life. We're making sure that when we interact with it, more specifically interact with other people in it, that we're not someone else's obstacle or the reason for someone else's unnecessary friction. So put your event on a timeline. Let's say that you have to be at work at 10 a.m. All right. So how do you get there? And let's say that you need to be in place, prepared, ready to rock and roll at 10 o'clock, not sort of ambling in at 10 adjacent, and you sort of get to wherever it is that you need to be by 10:15 or so. No. You need to be in place, ready to go at 10 o'clock. So how do you do that? There's your number, 10 o'clock. Work backwards. All right. So if I need to start work at 10 o'clock, or if I need to be engaging in whatever it is that I'm doing at 10 o'clock, not after 10 o'clock, but I need to be starting then. So work backwards. All right. So it's going to take me, I don't know. It's going to take me 3 minutes to clock in, put my stuff away, and, walk out to wherever it is that I need to be. So there you go. There's some time there. It's a non-zero amount of time from when I get to the parking lot to when I get out of my car and walk into the building, whatever. So you need to build in that time. What is my drive? Well, that doesn't mean when you're on the road to when you sort of get near work. That means from when you start walking out of your house to when you're standing in the building. How long does that take? Take that amount of time, measure it one day. You got a clock, you got a little button on your car that you can hit the trip timer for. Look at your phone when you leave, and then don't look at it again for the rest of your drive until you get there. Stop staring at your phone while you're driving, you psychopath. But anyway, time your drive. Time it multiple times. Figure out the average. How long does it take me? It takes me 31 minutes. All right, well, I'm going to put 31 minutes onto my timeline going left, and I'm going to build in 10 minutes for any ridiculosity that may happen. There's traffic. I missed all the lights, whatever it is. So you're going to build in 10 minutes extra for that. So, all right, so then how long is it going to take you from when you get dressed to when you walk out the door? Build in that time. How long does it take you to get ready? How long does it take you to take a shower and get dressed and all that stuff? Build in that time. What do you like to do before you get ready for work? I really don't recommend that you sleep as late as possible, jump up, hit the shower, or don't, and then put your clothes on and run out the door. Give yourself a little bit of time to breathe and chill. So figure out what you need, what kind of time you like to have, time buffer you like to have for yourself before you start getting ready for work. Figure out how long it takes you to go from the bed to putting your feet on the floor to getting to that space. There's your timeline backwards. So that's a condensed version of that. If you do this, you will be conscientious. You will be appreciated. You will be, people will recognize that you respect the timeline, that you respect the daily timeline, that you respect their time, and it will take you places. Everybody's going to be late from time to time. You can't build in infinite amount of time. If there's a catastrophic accident on the highway on your way to work and like you have no alternative routes, you can't get off and take a second road, and your navigator didn't warn you soon enough that you need to get off and take a different route, then you're just stuck. That happens. But the more times that you're on time, meaning early for work, the more your boss is going to, or I'll put it this way, the less likely your boss is going to think that you're an idiot piece of shit and that you just don't care and that you just never show up on time. You build up that cachet, you build the trust, and then when things happen, which they will, and people understand this, then it's going to be okay. All right? So that is that. Respect time, Gen Z. Figure out how to do it. We used to know how to do it. It skipped a couple of generations. Now it's your turn to pick that up. All right, moving on. Are we done with that part? Yes. All right. Under the nutrition segment, this came up the other day and it made me laugh, and I wanted to touch on it real quick. I want to talk about this more with other people because I'm probably a lot different than many of you, although I think most of you should do things more like this, more like I do, because it will save you time and bandwidth and friction and all that kind of stuff. But if you've listened to me for any length of time, you understand that when it comes to food and meal prep and feeding myself and nutrition and all that stuff, I want to put as little effort and time into it as possible. I have much more important and much more enjoyable other things that I would rather be doing than spending an hour and a half of my day figuring out what I'm going to eat and prepping it and cooking it. I need to do minimal work with that with maximum results. So how do I do that? I eat a lot of whole foods because I don't have to worry about garbage in there. I know my macro splits. I know my calories. I know what my body needs going in, so I don't really have to think about that stuff anymore. I did it once. Now I know it. I weigh my food and I go. But I was in my kitchen making my dinner the other day, and I have a little talking robot screen in the kitchen so I can ask it questions about things like this. And I don't even know. It was something like, hey, you, how much, I don't know, what's the nutrition profile of a combination of oatmeal, sweet potatoes, and rice, or whatever it was. I don't remember. But robot voice told me, which was very helpful, and I appreciated it. But then robot voice, as they are wont to do now, as the technology advances, starts suggesting things and asking questions, which I don't need. And robot voice asked, the nutrition profile is such and such and such and such. Are you making a meal? Would you like me to suggest some recipes, including X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, recipes? Oh, I got your I got your recipe right here. This brings me back to the whole thing about expectations and how we have created a culture in which everything has to be an experience. I'm not about it. Okay. I need to get this food into me in these portions and these nutrients as efficiently as possible. And I was like, here's your recipe. Here's my dinner. You get a big ass bowl. You get a big old handful of spinach and drop it in there. You split up 250 grams of sweet potato, rice, and oats. Mix in 113 grams of ground beef. Add 2 egg whites and 1 whole egg, olive oil, salt, and pepper. And then you eat that shit. That's how you do that. You don't need recipes for everything. You don't need to make everything that you eat an experience. You are driving yourself insane. It was just funny to me when that popped. Do you need recipes for this? No, I got a bowl and a fork and I got this food, and that's what we're doing. And it is crazy, man. We are so delicate. It's like, I need a recipe. Or we're just, or the AI wants to push us into thinking we need recipes for everything. Anyway, most of the time, things just need to get done. And I'm not opposed to elevated dining. Create an experience here and there, but set more realistic expectations there, Brittany. Come on. All right, moving on in fitness culture. I thought about something today as I looked around this friggin' hellscape of content nonsense vomited forth by these douchey fitness influencers whose their only real goal is engagement farming through friction and shoving fake solutions to non-existent problems at you. And it made me think about my job as a trainer and a coach. And I thought about this, and I wrote it down, and I thought I'd share it with you. It's brief. My daily goals as your trainer include designing your workouts, teaching and supervising your technique and mechanics, holding you accountable, monitoring your progress, and some other boring stuff that you don't care about. But my ultimate goal as your trainer is to open up the entire spectrum of fitness and wellness to you in a way that keeps you meaningfully engaged in your own strength and well-being for the rest of your life, whether I'm in it or not. And the reason I thought about this is because somehow particularly on YouTube, the content space has been overwhelmed by bodybuilding. And I don't know how that happened, but it did. And I have no use for bodybuilding. If you're a professional bodybuilder, good for you. Go after it. Do everything to the best of your ability. Make as much money as you can. Be the best person that you can. But I don't find it very useful for most real people. And that's who I coach. And so you'll always see this stuff on the big thing. And I started this podcast, one of the very first episodes was you're not doing it wrong, because everything out there, stop doing this way. You suck, you idiot. What do you do? Why are you doing pec flies this way? Why are you doing this way? Peptides, do all the things. Do this for max growth. Well, most of you don't give a shit about max growth. Most of you want to be healthy, strong, fit, and capable. Your parents, grandparents, business owners, employees, whatever. You just want to feel better, look better, and perform better. You don't need max gains. So I like to keep you meaningfully engaged in your fitness. By the way, every single solitary workout that my clients do begins with compound lifts. So I'm not skipping foundational strength. Not doing it, but I am adding not only engaging but fun, maybe even sometimes silly additional things at the end of the workout where I see you smile. And there's always a use for them. And it usually comes down to stability, balance, proprioception, that kind of thing. So I'll have my clients dribble kick, weave like a soccer ball, a 10-pound floppy medicine ball through cones. And it seems goofy, but it's really good for stability of the ankles, knees, and hips. And it's good for proprioception. And I watch them laugh and smile in it. And if you can laugh and smile while you're working out, you're going to do it for much longer. And that's all I have to say about that. All right, moving on. We're going to hit the Q&A section and then get out of here. Q&A. It's going to be rapid fire today. I'm going to try to keep my responses as short as I can, but you know me. I'm loquacious. I like to talk, but I'm going to try. I've gathered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I don't know, like 12 of the most commonly asked questions of fitness professionals, trainers, coaches, etc. across the universe, and we're going to hit them rapid fire one by one as soon as I drink some water. Stay hydrated out there, y'all. I would say if you live in the South, but this seems to be pretty universal right now. It is hot and humid. Hey, Super El Nino was supposed to be hot and dry, right? Well, July was super duper hot and very dry. August started out cool and raining every day, and it's still raining every day, but now it's 100 degrees, so that's delightful. All right, anyway, Q&A section. I need some background music for this, but all right, here we go. Question, will GLP-1 weight loss medications make me lose muscle? No. GLP-1s, the injecting the synthetic hormone into your body as such does not cause sarcopenia, but the mechanisms through which it operates, through which it engenders weight loss, will cause sarcopenia if you don't stay on top of it. And it's really hard to stay on top of it because the hormone is going to trick the glucagon-like peptide 1, which your body creates. It's an endogenous hormone, which you're going to go on top of it with a synthetic version of it. Regulates a couple of your systems that involve your pancreas, regarding blood sugar regulation and insulin. And it's going to let's be kind and say re-regulate your satiety and hunger feelings. And it's going to make you eat. It's going to prolong the sensation of being full when you do eat. And when you do eat, you're going to eat less food. You're not going to have a desire to eat. Now, that's where the danger comes in because you are not getting enough calories and you are not getting enough nutrients, and that is what is going to cause you to lose muscle mass or sarcopenia. All right, moving on. How much protein do I actually need if I am lifting weights? Okay, this is the question of the century, of the last 2 centuries, I guess, when it comes to fitness. And I was reminded of something recently that I thought I'd put in there. You need to all right. I said I was going to try to do this fast. All right. So I don't know if you're lifting for power, for hypertrophy, for strength, or for endurance, or for general fitness, or whatever you're doing. So I'm going to go right in the middle. But I was reminded I signed a new client a few months back, and this particular client was trying to give me how people will do. They want to give you their highlights. This client was pretty significantly overweight. I wouldn't say obese yet, but pretty significantly overweight, and didn't understand why. I was trying to assign blame to all the things. What it came down to was that she was overeating and did not understand how many calories she was putting into her body or how much she was picking throughout the day. But I remembered that she told me, and we're talking about a female in her 50s, with probably 40 to 50 pounds overweight. Told me that she was like, I'm eating a gram of protein per body pound. And she was like 180 pounds or so. And I'm like, oh my God. And she had misinterpreted. So she thought that she should be eating a gram of protein. And once again, she's not a bodybuilder. She's not an athlete. She was trying to cut, okay? So she thought, but she was trying to be conscientious about it and not cut her nutrients like we just talked about with the GLP-1s, that you eat less calories, less nutrients, less protein, all that. Well, she was trying to make sure that she wasn't losing muscle mass or losing good weight while she was in this cut. So, but she was telling me she was eating 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, and I almost fell down. I'm like, you're eating 180 grams of protein a day and you're trying to cut. She got pounds confused with kilograms. So the answer is somewhere between 1.6 to 2.2. So let's just call it 2. Let's say 2-ish grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, or 0.7 to 1 gram per pound. So if you're heavy, if you're a bodybuilder, or if you're a heavy lifter, if you're trying to make gains, you need to be in a calorie surplus. And at that point, yes, like for me, 1 gram per pound of body weight would be about 160 grams of protein. I just don't like to eat that much. I don't really need that to maintain what I want to maintain. So I'm on the lower end of that spectrum. All right. So I hope that answers that question. Please don't get your units of measure confused. But for heavy hypertrophy, heavy muscle gain, you need to be 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight or more if you can handle the calories and you're not getting fat doing it. Or on the metric side, somewhere around 1.8-ish in the middle of that to 2 grams per kilogram body weight. All right. Is fasting better for fat loss than a normal calorie deficit? No. First of all, I don't like fasting. There are certain medical situations, there are certain lifestyles where fasting is recommended, and fasting is okay. Fasting is not, there's no inherent advantage or disadvantage to fasting unless you are in an extreme medical situation. You couch this into fasting for fat loss because here's what's going to help you with fat loss. Calorie deficit. That's it. It doesn't matter when you eat them. If you do intermittent fasting and you fast for 18 hours and you eat for 6 hours or whatever your friggin' window is that you're going to eat, but you eat 2,200 calories then and you're in a cut situation or a body recomp situation and you only need 2,000 calories, you're not only not going to lose fat, but you're going to gain fat. So fasting has nothing to do with fat loss. And then kind of similar to that, do I really need to avoid carbs? And I like these. I like these because this stuff has been talked around in roundabout fashions, and people are really unclear when they talk about this, and they talk about it's all couched in optimization, and I hate optimization. I'm trying to talk to normal people here. So the whole fasting for fat loss, no, it's a calorie deficit. So here's the thing. Carbs. Oh my God. Remember when carbs were the enemy? Do I really need to avoid carbs after 8 p.m. to lose weight? The question is, I like to say lose fat. It doesn't matter. If you're in a calorie deficit, you're in a calorie deficit and you're going to lose fat. When you eat carbohydrates regarding fat loss, doesn't matter. When you eat carbohydrates regarding training, does matter. So for fat loss, no. And like I said, I'm going to keep trying to keep them short, so I'm not going to go down the road. We can talk about when to maximally time your carbs around your workout after that. But bottom line is keep a steady flow of your nutrients throughout the day. Understand what the hell your calorie needs are. Understand what your macro needs are and all that kind of stuff. All right. What should I eat right before and after a heavy workout? Okay. Real simple. Right before a heavy workout, you should focus on simple carbohydrates. Right after a heavy workout, you should focus on about somewhere between a 2-to-1 to 4-to-1 carbohydrate to protein ratio with a little bit of healthy fat in there. But that should be your post-workout. And of course, whatever your protein needs are, make sure everything's working on a sliding scale. Remember, 2 or 3 or 4-to-1, good complex carbohydrates with your protein and a little bit of healthy fat. Before your workout, stay away from a lot of protein and stay away from any fat. That's going to cause GI issues and sluggishness and all that kind of stuff. You don't want that. All right. Why does my lower back always hurt when I do squats? Probably it's either one or all of these things. You have a weak core, you have bad form, or ankle mobility issues. So keep working, keep doing your squats. Maybe you can do trap squats while you're working on strengthening your core. Make sure that your form is good. All right. And ankle mobility is a thing. If you have limited ankle mobility, it's going to be hard for you to get knees over toes. And so you're going to have most likely knee valgus and you're going to collapse inward and bend over, and it's just going to be a mess. So make sure that your core is strong, make sure that your form is good, and make sure that you have good joint mobility. And there are exercises that you can do that don't take very much time to help with joint mobility, particularly ankle mobility. All right. Can I fix my tech neck and rounded shoulders with exercise? Yes. The first thing you need to do, doesn't have anything to do with exercise, is put your phone down every now and then. Stop burying your chin in your chest and praying to the little glowing god of mental sawdust and put your friggin' electronics away every now and then. But with exercise, yes, there are some stretching exercises that you can do for that. But more importantly, working on your deep upper back muscles, rhomboid straps, and all that kind of stuff, and your posterior deltoids, making sure that your chest is not overactive from sitting and hunching all day. Make sure your posture is okay. But anyway, you said working out. So yeah, rows, basically any kind of rows are good for tech neck or text neck. Just make sure that you're strengthening. Put your phone down and then make sure that your posture is good and you're strengthening your deep upper back muscles. My knees click when I lunge. Should I stop doing them? No, unless it's painful. If you have knee pain when you're doing lunges, you need to get that addressed. But the sound in your knee is most likely gas bubbles in the joints or ligaments trying to get out of the way, moving around your bones. So no big deal there unless you're experiencing pain. Is static stretching before a workout bad for my joints? No, but it is bad for your workout. Static isometric stretching will, to put it colloquially, will make sleepy muscles. So you don't want your muscles relaxed when you're going to do strength training, when you're going to do resistance training, okay? So you want the neuromuscular process to be ready to roll, and you don't want to put your muscles to sleep. So do dynamic stretching instead of static or isometric stretching. How do I build muscle and endurance at the same time? All right. This is right up my alley. This is like Spartan training, OCR training. This is what I lean into. I go through stages, periodization, but my home base is always strength and endurance. You need to go, if we're talking about how do I build muscle and endurance at the same time. Muscle, you said muscle, not strength. But they're two sides of the same coin. You need to go lighter weight, higher reps. You need to do progressive overload, even with lighter weight and higher reps, because you don't need to stay at a weight or rep range or set range for very long. Don't overwork, because it's easy to overwork when you're working on endurance because you're doing higher reps. But that's really it right there. So if your bench press, whatever your bench press is, if we're talking about that particular compound lift, you go like 60 to 65% of your 1 rep max of your bench press, and your rep range should be something like 12 to 16. If that's too light, add weight or add reps. We're not talking about, I keep forgetting. You did say build muscle. So we do want a little bit of hypertrophy here. You are going to get hypertrophic growth by doing lighter weights, higher reps. It's just going to take more reps to get to that point of mechanical tension. So that's how you're going to do that. And like I said, lean into that. I like it. I like to be more well-rounded as opposed to just power or just strength or just hypertrophy or whatever, particularly because of what I do. What is the difference between training for strength versus training for size? Well, capability versus vanity, for one thing. But seriously, though, here's the thing. Training for strength focuses on maximizing the force your nervous system and muscles can produce using very heavy loads and low repetitions. So training for size or hypertrophy, as everybody knows it, focuses on increasing muscle cell volume using moderate weights with higher total workout volume, more repetitions and shorter rest times. So, that's the other thing. Backing up, I'm sorry, too. I knew I forgot something with that. So endurance with building muscle, you also need to have shorter rest time. So if you're working for, am I going to spoil this? Yeah, I'll get to this later. But you need to have probably about 90% rest periods between sets if you're doing building muscle and endurance. So anyway, back to this difference between training strength versus size. So we're talking about the difference in load and volume, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to work out for strength, which I prefer, if I'm going to pick one of those two, I prefer being strong over being pretty in a mirror. So you need higher workloads, and longer rest periods. All right, more weight, longer rest. You got to let your system reset. And it's a neuromuscular thing. Like I said, I'm going to touch on that here in a second, which will kind of put the bow on that. Like right here, how long should I rest between sets to maximize my power? So what you got to do is a little science at you before I get to the real stuff. You got to let your ATP-PC system reset, and that's adenosine triphosphate, phosphocreatine. That's the system that gives you immediate energy, short bursts for muscle contractions that usually last somewhere like 10 seconds. So that's going to be your explosive moves. It uses stored chemicals in your muscles to give you quick power, and that needs time to restore. So how long should you rest between sets to maximize your power? Okay, for power in particular, 3 to 5 minutes, probably leaning towards the 5 minutes, just because you're going to need to let your system reset and let not only your ATP-PC system, but your nervous system reset so that you can explosively move those heavy weights. Similar to that, can I get explosive and fast if I only lift heavy weights? No. This is a neuromuscular issue. Heavy lifting builds raw strength. Speed and power require your nervous system to move weights very fast. You need a mix of heavy lifts and fast explosive movements like plyometrics, that kind of stuff. Don't ditch heavy weights. Everybody's going to go, oh, your powers and your power lifters and all these people, everybody's going to come at you saying that I'm telling you not to lift heavy. No, don't ditch heavy lifting. Heavy compound lifts provide the base strength needed for explosive power. All right. How do I break through a strength plateau that lasts for months? All right. Well, this is probably a volume and intensity issue. In other words, your program ain't working for you. So you need to make some changes, and I'd start with a deload week. Don't be afraid of a deload. You are not going to lose your gains with a deload. Take a week, maybe even 2. You'll be okay. Cut everything. Cut your volume and your weights in half or not in half, but maybe by 30 to 40%. Cut them in half if you want to, man. Go all in on your deload week, but you got to let your body heal first before we can rebuild back into what we're doing to break through whatever this plateau is you got going on. So next, you got to adjust your training volume, change your exercise variations, eat more good food in proper proportions, and sleep more hours. All these things are important. Something's probably missing there. And taking these steps will force your muscles to adapt and grow stronger again. So that is what I would do for that. And at that, we're going to go ahead and get on out of here for the day. All right. Thanks for spending time with me today on balanceFIT Radio. If this conversation resonated with you, share it with someone who might need it. And let me leave you with this thought. If you don't know where you're going, no wind is favorable. And that is Roman Stoic writer Seneca the Younger. Until we meet again, I want you to be capable and resolute and move through life with a sense of purpose and train to be the right kind of dangerous. And always remember, it is your life, your potential. Peace out, homies. And I'll see y'all next time.